Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be breaking down Astro City Volume 3 Family Album. This volume covers 7 issues and spans 5 story arcs. Let me give a little tease up front on what all the story arcs are going to be about. So the first issue is an Eisner-winning issue for Best Single Issue. It is about a family that moved from Boston to Astro City and what their experience is like on their first day. And this issue kind of answers the question, what kind of person decides to live in a city where there's this huge concentration of heroes and villains and all these crazy battles happening all the time? What is it like to be a normal person in that kind of situation, and why would you stay there? And it answers that question in typical Astro City fashion, which is very hopeful and optimistic. And yeah, really solid issue. Then we have a 2-issue arc dealing with the first family, which are kind of the Fantastic Four of the Astro City universe. And that story arc really focuses on the little girl Astra first, within the first family, and her kind of struggles with balancing life in a superhero family, but kind of neglecting her life as a normal kid, and her struggles with that. And it is a very interesting dynamic to see explored here. Then we have an issue called Show 'Em All, dealing with a villain called the Junk Man. He's an older villain, and he pulls off a bank robbery, and he has millions of dollars, and he goes into retirement, and he's trying to enjoy himself, but he kind of struggles with the fact that he feels like he's not getting the credit he deserves, and that forces him to do some things. Then we have a 2-issue arc where we really get to know the character Jack in the Box and his struggles and his family dynamic and what's going on with him. And then we end on, I think, my favorite issue in this volume, a very kind of bizarre but really cool issue, focusing on this character named Looney Leo. Looney Leo is a cartoon character, kind of like Bugs Bunny, but he was brought to life by a magical ray in the 1940s. So now he's this real-life cartoon character in the real world, and he becomes an actor in Hollywood, and then his life goes on a dark path, and it's a very dark and twisted issue, but very fun, and I really liked it. So yeah, really excited to go through that one too. So let's dive into it. Astro City Volume 3. Astro City Volume 3, written by Kurt Busiek, art by Brent Eric Anderson. Covers by Alex Ross. This trade paperback covers Astro City Volume 2, issues 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Astro City Volume 2, Issue 1. Welcome to Astro City. This issue won the 1997 Eisner Award for Best Single Issue or Story. Ben Pullum and his 2 daughters, Maggie and Faith, have just arrived in Astro City, moving here from Boston on the East Coast. As they settle in on their very first date, they are approached by Marcy Dorr, a reporter from Cast TV News. Marcy is asking various residents why they chose to live in Astro City, and she asks the same question to Ben. Ben replies, "Well, actually, this is our first day here." And as he is mid-answer, he gets interrupted dramatically by a superhero battle exploding in the middle of the street. The Samaritan is locked in combat with a massive armored figure. This stuns Ben and his daughters. Ben, he remembers warnings from his friends back in Boston about Astro City's chaotic nature. They said Astro City was crawling with costumes and it's too dangerous, and to think of his girls. Ben, he thought, I mean, every city's got its superheroes, even Boston had the Silversmith. But still, him and his family hadn't been here 12 hours, and already they see this big battle go down. Samaritan defeats the attacker. The reporter, Marcy, she runs over to Samaritan to try to ask some questions. And then afterwards, she quickly takes off as they have a chance at making the noon report with their footage. Well, a little shaken, Ben and his daughters go on to explore the city that day. As they walk around, they see various monuments to past heroes like Air Ace and the Silver Agent. The Silver Agent died in 1973. On his statue, it bears the cryptic and haunting inscription, "To our eternal shame." At this point in time, we do not know the backstory of the Silver Agent and why his statue would say this. Ben's daughter asks, how come it says eternal shame? Ben answers, I'll explain it to you when you're older. Later that night, as Ben has his daughters at home, his youngest daughter, Faith, asks about their mom. Through their conversation, we learn that Ben and his wife got a divorce. He says to his daughter, well, we all make mistakes. Grown-ups make mistakes sometimes too, you know. And Mommy, she loves you. You know that. And you'll be seeing her at Thanksgiving. As Ben continues talking with his daughters, it gets very windy outside. So windy, in fact, a branch from a tree flew off and smacked into the window and broke it, cracking the glass. Outside of the window is a villain known as Thunderhead. Thunderhead appears to be some sort of wind-based villain, and he is flying in the sky in the form of clouds and a giant man, taller than a skyscraper. Thunderhead says to Astro City below, "You have transgressed against me, humans. You have stolen, and you will return that which you stole, and perhaps you will survive my coming retribution. Fail to restore that which is mine, and you will perish in darkness and in pain. I give you 1/12 of one of your hours, and then my race shall be visited on you, and mark my words, it shall be terrible to behold." Ben is fearful as he sees this from his home. Boston was never like this. The emergency beacon in the city goes off, and the light in the sky is swallowed by clouds, and the heroes arrive and try to stop Thunderhead. There are many heroes there, such as the First Family, the Honor Guard, the Astro City Irregulars, Winged Justice, Cracker Jack, Jack in the Box, the Hanged Man. Reporters around the city scramble to get footage. Citizens flee, or they watch from their rooftops, seeing the heroes battle Thunderhead. Ben and his daughters initially hide inside their apartment, but eventually they join their neighbors on the roof to watch the coming battle. When Ben joins his neighbors on the roof, it's like a party or something. Some of them even brought up lawn chairs. It's a quiet party though, no chatter, no conversation, just waiting for something to happen. One of Ben's little daughters, Faith, asks another neighbor, "Hey, Miss Demeany, where's Bobby?" The older woman says, "Hey kiddo, he's downstairs. He's got a paper to write for school." Ben, shocked, as none of this is normal to him. These big hero battles happening in the sky above his home. He says, "He's writing a paper? With all this going on? Isn't he, aren't you worried?" The neighbor woman answers, "Well, sure, but what are we supposed to do? It's out of our hands, you know. And hey, if the world doesn't end, you still got school, right?" This shocks Ben. He begins to regret his choice of moving his family here from Boston. If the world doesn't end, he's still got school? This is nuts. This is a nightmare. What are his daughters gonna learn by living here? How to duck and cover? Ben, he then thinks, you can't stay here. You can go and get your old job back if you crawl a little. You can find a place maybe in Charlestown, or as Ben is lost in thought, one of the heroes, Cleopatra, flies by, helping a civilian who was in danger. Ben's daughters point at the hero and say, "Wow, Daddy, she's neat. She's one of the good guys, right?" Ben, he answers, "Yes, honey, yes, she is." As Ben and his neighbors watch the fighting in the sky, the heroes make one final assault, and they fail. And everybody can see it. Everybody's watching. Thunderhead, he storms out loudly, saying, "Enough! My patience is at an end, humans. Now you shall pay the price for your transgression. Now you shall." Thunderhead is cut off. Samaritan flies up to him and says, "Hold, Thunderhead." And all of a sudden, Thunderhead's wife, Helia, she flies in the sky, shrouded in a golden light. Helia tells her husband, "Really, it's no wonder they call you Dunderhead behind your back." Thunderhead to this says, "What? Who dares to call me that?" Helia continues, "Calm down, my lord husband. Stay your storms. You have been lied to. These humans are not responsible for my capture. I was stolen and imprisoned purely to goad you into attacking these innocents. And you danced to the tune like a puppet. You have been manipulated, my lord Thunderhead, and played for a fool by humans." Thunderhead, still peeved, says, "Where are they? By the shattered rock, El?" Helia cuts her husband off and says, "You've done enough for one night, I think. You've transgressed against innocence, and they have repaid your anger by doing you the boon of saving me. I say again, my lord, stay your storms, and let us away." And with that, it was over. The rain came down gently and warm, and all the neighbors looked at each other and didn't really know what to say, so they went back inside and went to bed. Ben, he thought to himself, it doesn't seem right, somehow, just to go to sleep like nothing's happened, but there isn't anything else to do. And the next morning, the streets are shining, and the air is fresh and clean. Ben and his daughters walk the streets. Neighbors and public workers are cleaning up broken glass and debris, and preparing a potluck to support the helpers. This neighborhood camaraderie really impresses Ben. He thinks that he feels like he traveled back in time. The way everyone's helping each other, it's like they're all in this together. It's like what his dad used to talk about during the war. Marcy, the TV reporter, she comes back around again. She is continuing her man on the street interviews, and she recognizes Ben from the day before. She goes up to him and she says, "We never did finish talking yesterday, so you had quite a night. What do you think of Astro City now?" Ben stumbles on a response. He says, well, Ben, he then thinks to himself, "Last night was insane, it was horrible, but watching the heroes, seeing the people today, the city workers, the neighbors, it's dangerous, it's frightening, but words like honor and trust and commitment, they're just words most places. But here, they mean something." Ben, he tells the reporter, "Well, you know, I think we'll stay." Astro City Issue 2, Everyday Life. We are introduced to Astra first. She is a little girl with fantastical powers. She was also a member of the First Family, which are kind of like the Fantastic Four of the Astro City universe. Astra's mother is Natalie First. Natalie has energy powers, which Astra has inherited. Astra's father is Rex Magestros, who is kind of a reptilian figure. Astra's grandfather is Augustus First. Her great-uncle is Julius First, who is the brother of Augustus. And Astra's uncle is Nick First. And they all live at a big facility there in Astro City. We see when Astra wakes up, she does her morning routine. She feeds her fish named Uranium. She then transforms into her energy form and does some flying. Afterwards, her mother tells her to stop exercising and take a bath and prepare to eat breakfast. For breakfast, she eats some sort of weird glowing purple food that was invented by her grandfather that will supposedly help her energy powers. We now get a little history of the First Family. Astra's grandfather, Dr. Augustus First, was one of the most brilliant scientists and daring adventurers in history. With his brother Julius, they traveled the world in search of adventure and knowledge. Augustus, he was married and divorced 4 times, but it was his third wife, Nadia, who changed his life the most. He found Nadia trapped in a field of alien energy in Yugoslavia. He rescued her and fell in love and married her. And within 2 years, she left him for the prince of a near-legendary tribe of animal men. But the story didn't end there. In 1961, she was missing, and her new husband was incarcerated, and her twin children needed help only Augustus First could provide. So he adopted them and raised them as his own. Those children were Natalie and Nick First. And together, Augustus, Julius, Natalie, and Nick, they became a team of 4 adventurers. But it didn't end there. In 1979, Dr. First's adoptive daughter, Natalie, shocked the world by marrying Rex Magestros, the son of one of the First Family's greatest enemies. And in 1986, their daughter was born, Astra, who's now the most famous, most powerful 10-year-old girl in the world. With that history of the First Family out of the way, we check back in on Astra. Astra appears on a TV show called Astro Kids Today. There, the host of the show asks Astra, "Does it feel weird to travel to other dimensions and fight monsters and stuff?" Astra answers, not really, it's fun." The host then asks, "What about being so famous or having relatives that aren't human? That's gotta be strange." Astra answers, "I don't know, I guess." The host then takes some questions that civilians phone in on. They ask Astra, "What's your favorite color?" Astra answers, "Green." "What grade are you in?" Astra answers, "I don't go to school. I get taught at home, but I guess I'd be in the 4th grade." "What's your favorite TV show?" I don't watch much TV." "Do you ever, have slumber parties?" Astra answers, "I don't really know too many other kids." "Do you have a boyfriend?" Astra answers, "No, What bands do you like? Who's your favorite movie star?" Astra, who doesn't really watch much TV or listen to music, says, These questions are making Astra start to be agitated. She doesn't like the questions as there's too many of them, and she doesn't know the right kind of answers, and she doesn't want to be there. The producers of the show realize that Astra's losing it, and they don't want to freak her out. So they get away from the typical softball kid questions and back to superhero stuff, and then Astra seems to calm down. They ask, "Have you ever met the Irregulars?" Astra answers, "Oh yeah, Juice is cool and Ruby's real nice. And Palmetto's kinda icky though. He's the cockroach guy. He doesn't like it when you call him a cockroach though." At the end of the day, the show was successful and Astra got through it fine. Astra and her mother fly by helicopter away from the TV studio. And as Astra is up in the sky, she looks down on the ground below. And she sees some kids playing hopscotch. And Astra, as she watches the kids, thinks to herself, "Those kids down there, they know all about TV and boyfriends and slumber parties and bands and me, I know how a TV works, but I don't even know what game they're playing." Astra has grown up a very different lifestyle than a typical kid. And while it didn't fully bother her in the past, it's starting to bother her now. She never lived a real kid experience. When she gets back home, the rest of the first family have to take off and do some superheroing, but Astra is to stay there and go to school, in a way. Astra sits in some fancy computer chair and presses a button, and it launches some sort of VR world for her, where her teacher is some sort of VR avatar named Mr. Smarty. As Astra is listening to Mr. Smarty, she thinks, I'm gonna have to ask her grandpa for a new teacher. Mr. Smarty's cool, but he's kind of for little kids. Maybe I could have a TV character or something. Anyway, he's talking about space molecules or something, but I keep thinking about those kids. Mr. Smarty, as he's continuing the lesson for the day, notices that Astra is distracted. He asks her if she's alright. Her vital signs are good, and she's not running a fever. Astra, she asks Mr. Smarty, "Tell me something, Mr. Smarty." "What's that?" She then draws the hopscotch symbols she saw earlier. Mr. Smarty starts guessing what Astra is asking him. He answers, that looks like a geometric shape, an exploded view of a doubled hollow cube with an open face. Or maybe it's a simplified plan for a Salisbury cathedral, or a polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. Astra replies, No, it's not a science thing or a history thing. It's a kid thing, it's a game." Mr. Smarty replies, I see. Well, I'm not programmed with that much data on games, but I'll dial into the university's databanks and see what... Mr. Smarty then gets interrupted as an alarm goes off. Astra is needed by the first family. She joins them in their aircraft. They all put on these weird cerebra circuits on their forehead to protect them from mental domination by a villain known as Silverbrain. Silverbrain is a reoccurring enemy of the first family. Originally a scientist known as Sergei Valtrov, who eventually learned how to go all mental and become a pure brain, and now he keeps trying to enslave the world. Well, right now he managed to escape something called the Mentoverse, and now he has a gorilla swarm under his control, and they are attacking a university. The first family battle the gorillas, but then Silverbrain unleashes these antibodies that are energy beings themselves. these antibody energy beings manage to somehow suck up the members of the first family, convert them into energy, and shove them into this power core. Astra, she doesn't know about games, she doesn't know sleepovers and TV shows, but she does know energy. So she manages to reach out and let herself dissolve a little bit into this energy core, find out where the core is powering all of the silver brain stuff, and she shuts it off. She manages to save her family, and then they all defeat the silver brain, and it is a successful day. Afterwards, once they are all back home, Astra asks her mother, "Can I ask you a question? What's this game?" And her mother, Natalie, answers, "Oh yeah, that's called hopscotch." Astra questions, "How's it played?" Natalie answers, "Oh, I'm not really sure. I grew up with your grandpa, so I never really played it as a girl. Grandpa or Uncle Julie might know, though. They grew up around other kids." Astra excitedly wants to go ask them, but her mother stops her, saying, "Oh, don't disturb them right now. They're doing something really important. You know how it is when we're off on an adventure, how important it is that we keep the world safe? Well, this is like that, sort of. We're on a really important adventure right now, and they're not back yet. Do you understand, honey?" Astra, a little disappointed, says she does. Her mother has to go run an errand and to do a debrief at the mayor's office, but she asks her daughter, "Will you be okay here for a little while with your electro books and Mr. Smarty?" Astra answers, "I guess." Her mom continues, "Great, I'll be back as soon as I can, and we'll make pecan waffles." Astra is now left alone once again, and her family's off doing other things. Astra, up there in the tower of the first family's building, she looks through some sort of magnifying machine that lets her zoom in on parts of the city. Astra, she zooms in on the local school, and she studies the hopscotch drawing on the ground. And she thinks to herself, They know down there, they know about hopscotch. The others are on an adventure. Mom said it's important. On an adventure. Astra, she gets an idea. She types on her computer, and then she says bye to her fish, saying, "Bye, Uranium. You be good, okay?" And then she heads off. We see, on Astra's computer, she wrote, "I have gone on an adventure. Please feed Uranium. Love, Astra." So Astra has decided to, in a way, run away from home to go on an adventure. An adventure to find out what hopscotch really is. Astro City Issue 3, Adventures in Other Worlds. The adults in the first family are anxious as they believe Astra is missing and she ran away from home. So they go looking where they think Astra might be. They travel to the ocean depths, to a place called Astro City, which is where Astra's father, Rex Majestros, is from. They think that maybe Astra went to go visit her grandmother that lives here? As they approach Astro City, Rex becomes anxious. Things do not look like they are going well at his home. He swims up ahead, and when he arrives, he's shocked and says, "This was a proud city, graceful, elegant, teeming with millions of inhabitants. It stood for centuries, a jewel in the ocean depths, and now? Rex grabs some sort of green creature down there, and he says, "Speak, tell me, what happened here? Where is my mother? Where is Madame Majestrex?" The weird green creature answers, she never came back. You fought her over the dimension jewel, and she was taken by it. And that's the last anyone's seen of her. And then the trenchers attacked and laid siege to the city and drove us out into the ocean wastes. Rex, he then turns to the others and says, "I was so sure that my mother returned and somehow brought Astra into some mad scheme of hers." Augustus first says, "If your mother did return to Astro City, she'd never allow it to lie fallow like this." Rex replies, "Well then Astra's not with her then." Natalie, Rex's wife and the mother of Astra, says, "Well, then where is she? She was talking about hopscotch last night. For pity's sake, hopscotch." And then that note she left on her computer about going on an adventure? Someone's taken her. One of our enemies has my little girl. And I'm not gonna rest until we get her back. Despite her parents' fears, Astra was not taken. She just wanted to go on an adventure. she wanted to learn what hopscotch is, so she went to the local school nearby her home. Astra goes and talks to some of the other children on the playground. One of the older girls there, named Matrice, sees Astra and asks, "Who are you?" Astra answers, "I'm new here. That's hopscotch, right? Can you teach me to play?" Matrice replies, "Teach you? Pah! I don't teach hopscotch, new girl, I win it. Come back when you know how to play and be ready to lose." As the bitchy student Matrice walks away, another girl named Leisha introduces herself to Astra and is nice to her. She tells Astra, "Don't mind Matrice, she's like that with everybody. She throws a hissy fit if no one will play with her. And her mom's the principal, so she can make trouble." The school bell then rings. So Astra, she follows the other kids inside. She thinks, "I guess I've got to go to school if I want to learn hopscotch." Astra goes inside. She is not in the school's records, so the administrators there tell her to sit down for now. Astra, she instead walks around a bit. She finds the school's computer lab. Astra thinks, their computers are real old, like the one Grandpa gave me when I was 4, because he didn't use it anymore. But their computers here are way dumber. Still, they're easy to use, easier even than shutting off my uniform's locator chip. Astra, she goes into the computers, she types around a bit, and she gets herself added to the student record list. The school administrators then find Astra, and seeing her in the system now, they escort her into a classroom. And they introduce Astra to the class under the fake name that Astra made up called Astrid Linders. Meanwhile, the other members of the first family are still searching for Astra. Astra was not with her grandmother on Rex's side, so they go to see if she is with her biological grandfather on Natalie's side. While Natalie's adoptive father is Augustus first, her biological father is actually Prince Caspian. He is the Prince of the Beastmen of Eastern Europe. He had an affair with Augustus's third wife, but they couldn't take care of the kids, Nick and Natalie, so Augustus adopted them. So now, Augustus first asks Caspian about the whereabouts of Astra, and if Caspian knows where she is. Caspian, aggravated now, says, "What do you mean? My granddaughter is missing?" Augustus attempts to respond, but Caspian cuts him off and continues, "No, Augustus first, you look. You took my children from me and raised them as your own. That may have been a good thing all in all, for surely they would have had a hard life with the beast people, but they are still blood of my blood, and to have them turned against me as so often as you have done is much indeed to endure. But now you tell me on top of this, you're unable to safeguard a single 10-year-old girl?" The arguing then gets heated. Rex Magestros raises his voice. He accuses Caspian of kidnapping his granddaughter. Caspian slams Rex back and yells, "You dare accuse Caspian of the Beastmen? I am a man of honor, creature. Bad enough you sully my daughter with your touch. Bah, enough. I will send a message through all the tribes of the Beastmen. All the wild world will search for her, and if she can be found by us, she will be." Meanwhile, back at the school, Astra has now learned the rules of hopscotch, but now she wants to beat that girl Matrice at hopscotch, as Matrice is being a real bitch, and Astra needs to give her her comeuppance. Astra, she competes against Matrice and loses. Astra, she tripped and fell as she was going down the hopscotch court, and she couldn't pick up the pebble that she threw in one of the squares. Matrice gloats, "Heh, you lose, new girl, and there goes your pebble." Matrice says this as she kicks Astra's pebble away. Matrice then continues, "That's why I use a jack instead of a rock, new girl. See it? That's real gold plate. You beat me? You can have it. But nobody's ever beat me, and nobody's ever gonna. I'm the best hopscotch player at Bowling Elementary School, and that's the way it's gonna stay." As Matrice walks off, Astra's new friend Alicia asks, "Are you okay?" Astra answers, "I just fell in some gravel and scraped my knee. I'm okay, but I don't like her." Alicia replies, "Nobody does. You don't have to play, you know. Nobody really cares." Astra to this says, "I care." Astra that night still avoids going home. She stays in some sort of abandoned building. keeping herself warm with her powers and scavenging some money to get food. And then she practices hopscotch. As her grandpa always says, practice is real important. Meanwhile, the rest of the first family is still searching for Astra. They are asking their various villains around the world if they have seen her. Meanwhile, back at school, Astra continues to try and beat Matrice at hopscotch, but she continues to fail. Astra's friend, Leisha, thinks that Astra looks a lot like the famous Astra on TV of the first family. Astra lying says, "Well, I'm not her." Leisha replies, "I know that, silly. You just look like her, sorta. You know, like on that show, She's Twins?" Astra replies, "My mom doesn't let me watch TV." Leisha replies, "You've never seen She's Twins? Oh, you gotta. You wanna come over tonight? You can watch it at our place." Astra, excited, says, "Really?" So Astra goes to Leisha's place to watch some TV. Meanwhile, the first family are continuing the search for Astra. They have traveled all the way to the Magma Palace, where Lord Volcanus is there. They ask if he has seen Astra. Of course he has not. The next day, on the playground once again, Astra plays hopscotch against Matrice and loses once again. And once again, the first family ask another crazy villain if they've seen Astra. Krator the Invincible has not. Meanwhile, back at the school, the other girls in Astra's class are starting to notice that Astra looks a lot like Astra of the first family, who's apparently missing. Astra's picture is even on a milk carton. Astra, though, continues saying that she's not Astra. Meanwhile, the other members of the first family are starting to run out of people they can ask, and they're really worried of where Astra might be. Natalie says, "Oh, where's my little girl?" Back at the playground, Astra and Matrice are playing hopscotch once again. Matrice starts off strong. She looks like she's gonna do well, but there was a puddle from the rain last night, and Matrice steps in it and she trips and falls. So now it is Astra's turn. She has a shot at winning. Astra, she throws her jack, and then she begins hopping the squares. Astra, she gets her pebble in the 6, where she's supposed to, and then she starts, and she can feel it, and she knows she can do it. And then it's like she's in slow motion, and every square is just as big and as clean as the tiles in her practice room back home. And Astra, she does it! Astra beat Matrice! She yells, "I did it!" Astra, she then turns into her energy form and she flies into the sky above the playground and yells, "I won!" The children and the teachers all gasp. They realize that this little girl is actually Astra of the first family. Matrice, she comments, You're... But Astra cuts her off and says, "I'm the best hopscotch player at Bowling Elementary School. That's who I am." After that, everything happened kind of fast. Someone called her home and her parents came and finally got Astra. When Astra gets home, her mother talks to her and she says, "Oh honey, we were so scared. We were frightened that something happened to you, that you were kidnapped or hurt or worse. You understand that what you did was wrong, don't you?" Astra answers, "Uh-huh. I shouldn't have gone without checking with anyone, and I shouldn't have turned off my locator chip. I just wanted to know what hopscotch was, and then..." Natalie tells Astra, "We've been talking this afternoon, and we've arranged for you to go to school at Bowling Elementary regularly, to be with other kids your own age, and get to know what normal life is like, if that's what you want, that is." Astra says, "Oh Mom, that'd be so great." Natalie replies, "Oh well, okay then. You can start next week, and we'll program your computer to pick up TV signals so you can know what the other kids are talking about. But not right away, not for a month. You're being punished, young lady, you understand?" Astra, she understood. But still, she went on an adventure on her own, all on her own, and she did okay. That night, we see Astra run into the trophy room, and she grabs her little trophy box. And despite all the fantastical things that Astra has done in her life, she takes that little golden jack that she won off Matrice, and she puts it in her trophy box, as right now this is her greatest possession. She closes the trophy box, and then she goes to bed and sleeps with it in her arms. Astro City, Issue 10. Show 'em all! We are introduced to an old man named Hiram Potterstone. He is a villain that goes by the name the Junk Man. He wasn't always a villain, though. He used to work for a company called Edgeco, where he was an inventor. But once he got up there in age, he was let go. Or rather, he had to face mandatory retirement. Hiram argued with his bosses, "But I have more ideas, new inventions, new processes, things I've barely started working on." But it didn't matter. He was too old and they didn't want him around anymore. Hiram, he tried to get a job at other companies, but he kept getting turned away. He was in his 60s. They always told him, if you were in your 40s or maybe even your 50s, then maybe they could swing it, but no. Hiram, forcibly having to retire, thought about what he was going to do with the rest of his life. And he thought, I'm suddenly obsolete, huh? Oh, look at the calendar. Time to throw out all the old men like so much junk. They're fools, all of them. They don't realize what they had, what they've thrown away. But I'll show them. Hiram Potterstone will show them all. And that is when he became the Junk Man, creating various inventions to help with his various crimes and robberies. Throughout his villain career, various superheroes stopped him, primarily Jack-in-the-Box, stymied him at every turn. But Jack-in-the-Box and the others were just hurdles to overcome. And now the Junkman has pulled off the perfect crime. The Junkman breaks into the Astro City Bank, and he uses all of his various gadgets made from junk to navigate the bank, break into the vault, steal a whole bunch of cash, and sneak out. He executes the robbery perfectly, right in the middle of the night when everything is closed. In the end, he slips away with roughly $7 million. The police are baffled. They have no leads and an investigation is ongoing. But by then, the Junkman is long gone. His money has been laundered and tucked safely away in a numbered Grand Cayman bank account. And the Junkman himself booked a flight out of the country, and he will enjoy some exotic vacations. His first stop is in Rio de Janeiro. Once in Rio de Janeiro, the Junkman spends enough money to attract the most satisfying of companions. And he spends his days in the sun with these beautiful companions. One day, though, he grows a little annoyed. One of the woman companions he's with sees some Brazilian heroes on TV known as the Birds of Paradise. The woman says, "Oh, the heroes, they're so wonderful, so vivacious, so powerful. To fly like that, to fight for justice. It must be the greatest thing in the world." The Junkman responds, "Oh, they're not so special. They don't win all the time, you know, the superheroes. They make mistakes, they fail, just like anyone else." One of the men in the resort chimes in and says, "Oh no, that's just not so. It was only last month that the birds helped drive off those aliens, eh? They may lose a skirmish here and there, but in the end, the superheroes get who they're after." The Junkman argues back, "Not always, my friend. You remember that bank in Astro City a few months ago? The man who did that, he got away clean under the noses of the highest concentration of superheroes on Earth." The woman that the Junkman is with, she responds, "It only looks that way, I'm sure. I'm sure they caught him, somewhere else perhaps, or for some other crime." The man that was chiming in says, "Listen to her, senor. She knows the superheroes do not fail." This annoys the Junkman. He leaves Rio de Janeiro that night. He's been growing tired of it anyway. He still has more money in the bank, so he goes to Monte Carlo, and then to Paris, and then to Tokyo, and he does everything he's ever dreamed of doing. But the taste of it is all spoiled. It lies bitter in his mouth. All these wonders, all these pleasures. He should be joyous. These experiences should be embraced. They should be reveled. This is his just reward after a lifetime of toil. But instead, the Junkman just feels bitter. One day in his apartment, he says aloud, "But why? Those caped, masked lunkheads, they're morons, fools. I outwitted them all, and nobody knows a thing. Nobody knows thing. The junk man, he wanted credit. So he was gonna commit some more crimes. In Detroit, he robbed another bank, and when the hero MPH attempted to stop him, the junk man was prepared. He tossed some marbles that had static adhesion, and they managed to disrupt MPH's boots and knock him out. So the junk man made off with even more money. His next stop was then in New Orleans, where the Black Rapier tried to stop him, but Junkman managed to foil him as well, and escape with another heist. The papers are starting to get wise to the Junkman. They know he's on a crime spree, and they even figure out that the Astro City bank robbery was him as well. The Junkman, he decides to go back to Astro City, back to the very bank he robbed months ago. He wants to try and rob it again. The Junkman's main nemesis, Jack-in-the-Box, is staking the place out. And when he sees Junkman robbing it, Jack-in-the-Box springs into action. Junkman had various gadgets to counter Jack-in-the-Box, but throughout the course of their fighting, Jack-in-the-Box managed to steal the Junkman's satchel. If the Junkman still managed to have his bag, it was brain against brawn, and he had a chance. But without his bag, it's an entirely physical contest, and Jack-in-the-Box managed to overpower him and arrest him. So the Junkman was captured, although he still seemed very calm about it, almost like he actually kind of wanted to be captured. The Junkman, he smiles when he has his day in court. As the prosecutor lays out his case, he then explains with great detail how the Junkman pulled off what he did. And this is kind of exactly what the Junkman wanted, for everyone else to know his brilliance so he could have credit. The Junkman, as he sits in court, thinks to himself, "Oh, these people, they're going to drink in every word, every invention, every exhibit, every stroke of my genius, and then the prosecution will rest. And then I'll trigger my escape plan, which has been in place for days. And then I'll leave, and they'll have that much more to talk about, eh?" Meanwhile, I feel their eyes on me, fascinated. But there's not much for me to do, not at the moment. Not much except to smile for the sketch artists. It should be a delightful show. Astro City Volume 2, Issue 11, Serpent's Teeth. On the local news, reporter Tamara Dixon reports that a villain known as the Brass Monkey attempted to rob a charity fundraiser banquet. But Jack-in-the-Box showed up and the two of them fought. The Brass Monkey, he managed to flee and get away, but was forced to drop its loot and got away empty-handed. Elsewhere in Astro City, we see Tamara Dixon's husband, Zachary Johnson. Zachary is also the hero known as Jack-in-the-Box. And he is also the CEO of ZJ Toys. Currently, Zachary's still at the office, looking at some schematics. Finally, it's time to go home. Zachary changes into his Jack-in-the-Box outfit, and he starts leaping across rooftops on his way home. While traveling on the rooftops, he comes across a gang called the Trouble Boys. Despite their name, they're actually just a gang of boys that try to do good in their local neighborhood. One of the Trouble Boys is a man named Roscoe James. Jack-in-the-Box, he thinks, "I probably shouldn't encourage these boys, but they got up to worse than this before I ever met them, and better their brand of trouble than what the other gangs play at. And they've been a help in several cases, although a problem in twice as many." Anyway, Jack-in-the-Box continues vaulting and leaping various rooftops, and eventually he arrives home to his wife, Tamara. The two of them kiss and they talk about their day. But then, from their apartment, Zachary overhears some gunshots ring out. So he changes back into his Jack-in-the-Box costume and tells his wife, "I'll be back as quick as I can," and he heads out the window. Jack-in-the-Box doesn't like to leave his wife, but she's used to it and she has grown okay with what he does. And besides, there's someone out there on the streets that needs his help. We see a civilian running on the street. He seems panicked. He yells, "No, no, stay back." This is the man that has been firing the gun. Man runs into a parking lot and then he gets hit on the head and falls to the ground. He then gets killed with a clown-shaped blade fired out of a machine. Jack in the Box then arrives, and Jack sees this dead man, and he sees that the dead man was killed by a man that looks kind of like him. Well, sort of. He's also in a kind of clown-like costume, although it's kind of creepy looking and messed up. This other clown creature is named the Box, and his real name is Jerome Johnson. And it turns out he is the son of Jack in the Box from another dimension from the future. Jack in the Box questions the Box. "Okay, what is this? The arm, the eye, everything. No one would mistake you for me, so who are you?" The Box answers, "Who am I, Zachary Johnson? Who am I? I am the Box, and more. I am your son whom you failed." Jack in the Box is confused. His son? He doesn't even have a son. At least not yet. The Box continues, "Your son. You died before I was born, though. Died without preparing me, without training me. I didn't know the legacy I carried until I was 12 years old. All that time, all those years lost. But I chose to live up to your example, nonetheless, to live up to my heritage. I had myself cybernetically altered to augment my physical abilities, to give me the edge I needed." Jack in the Box, horrified, asks, "You mutilated yourself?" The Box answers, "I did, and I have, rebuilding and improving myself further and further as I needed more power. I would have done anything to follow in your footsteps. I made myself cold. I made myself hard and brutal, judge and jury in the war against crime. But it was not enough. I was overwhelmed. Crime could not be stemmed. And then I realized it was not my failure, it was you. You who failed to take the necessary steps, who failed to stop crime. You stand accused, Jack in the Box. You are guilty, and you must pay the price. Guilty. Death. Death." Jack in the Box responds, "This is nuts. You're not my son, you can't be. But whoever you are, you're demented, and you've got to be stopped." Before Jack can try and take the Box down, all of a sudden, another creeped up alternate future version of his son arrives, dressed in another messed up Jack in the Box costume. This version of Jack in the Box's son refers to himself as Jack Son. Jack's son says aloud, "Ah, little robot man, little machine, little failure, I have reached this era in time. You will not defile the Jack with your touch." Jack in the Box fires some sort of confetti wrap to hold the two other Jacks down. Jack in the Box then tries to talk with them. He says, "You two stay there and leave the claws and chainsaws and guns and other weapons alone. I want to know what this is all about. Now." Jack's son explains, "Are you still using this primitive multi-chain thermoplastic resin? Confetti? It's so easy to melt." Jackson manages to cut his veins and use some sort of acid from his veins to cut through the confetti. Jack in the Box asks, "Who are you?" Jackson answers, "Like this pathetic, clumsy creature, sir, I am your son. I am the Jack Son. But a better, more respectful son, as I am sure you see, for I did not mature in a vacuum. After you fell in battle, I was taken by the Brothers of Trouble, taken to the far future to escape the wasting. There I was trained, there I studied your life and your words, and there, after being brought up in your light and your way and your truth, I was transformed into the living instrument of your will." Jack in the Box, puzzled, asks, "You did this? You let this be done to you as some attempt to honor me? To be like me?" The three Jack in the Boxes have further conversation, but eventually the two messed up future Jack in the Boxes decide that their father is not all he cracked up to be. and they start turning against him. And the two Jacks decide to team up and take their father down. So Jack in the Box has to fight them both off. Jack in the Box needs to retreat. He starts running across town, and the other two Jacks follow after him. Jack in the Box runs to a nearby scrapyard. There in the scrapyard, Jack in the Box runs into the Trouble Boys. Jack asks, "What are they doing there?" One of the Trouble Boys, Roscoe James, answers, "We seen you were in a scrap, so we figure we're pitching in. What do you need?" Soon, the Box and Jackson arrive at the scrapyard as well. Jack in the Box and the Trouble Boys manage to take the two Jacks down. The Trouble Boys cause a distraction and throw stuff at the Jacks. Meanwhile, Jack in the Box manages to freeze one of the Jacks with canisters of some sort of freezing agent, and then he manages to use a big magnet to magnetize the box too. With both the future Jack in the Boxes subdued, the police eventually arrive and haul them away. Afterwards, Jack in the Box returns home to his wife. Tamara asks her husband, "I heard about what happened on the news. Some of it anyway. What happened?" Jack in the Box removes his mask, and now as Zachary, he answers, "Later, okay? I'll tell you later." Tamara to this says, "It was that bad, huh? Come here." Zachary then asks what his wife wanted to tell him. They were having a conversation earlier, but they got cut off. Tamara responds, "Well, I was hoping for a cheerier moment than this, but it's good news, so maybe it will help. Zachary Johnson, we're going to have a baby." Zachary this night just fought two future versions of his son that are messed up, and now he's told he's gonna have a baby? Zachary is frozen. Tamara asks, Zach, what is it? What's wrong?" Astro City, Issue 12, Father's Day. Jack in the Box, or Zachary Johnson, was not actually the first Jack in the Box. The original Jack in the Box was Zachary's father, Jack Johnson. He was a designer for Ramco Toys. A black designer in the early 60s was unusual, but he was talented. They paid him half what less productive white designers made, though. Jack discovered by chance that some of his toy designs were being used as weapons. Weapons used by the underworld. He tried to get to the bottom of it at Wamco, but all that happened was that he got fired. Nobody believed him, and Wamco wanted him to shut up anyway. So Wamco had Jack's father kidnapped. So that led Jack to use some of his custom toy designs as weapons himself, and he worked up a costume and he became the first Jack in the Box. He originally did so to rescue his father, and then once he succeeded at that, he continued wearing the costume to continue his investigation. And then he took on the mobs, and then Wamco, and eventually he exposed them and won. But he still kept fighting for others who had been victimized, who needed help, and he became a hero. And then in 1983, he died, killed in an explosion while fighting minions of the Underlord. He successfully took the Underlord down, or so it seemed, and he died saving people, making the world a better place. Zachary, he was 12 years old at the time, and he didn't know any of this history. His mother never knew, or she thought that Zachary was too young to know, so he didn't get told. But eventually, he followed in his father's footsteps, studying engineering, designing toys of his own. And when he was 18, Zachary's mother died too. And in the process of settling the estate, Zachary found his father's gadgets and journals. He finally found the truth about his dad. There was a lot in those journals, including the villain known as the Underlord's true identity, and the fact that he wasn't dead. So, Zachary, following in his father's footsteps, became the second Jack in the Box. He did so to bring in the Underlord and to get justice for his father. And by the time he managed that, Zachary stayed in costume, just like his father did, and he became a superhero too. Zachary in the present day explains all of this to his wife. He also explains how he felt at 12 years old when his father died, and he didn't know the truth. And Zachary is worried now that if he has kids, they could face a similar kind of story if he were to perish in battle. Tamara, she replies, "But I thought you wanted kids. I thought you wanted this." Zachary answers, I do, Tamara, I do. It's just, I didn't think we'd be having kids this soon. I didn't think about what it meant. And after what happened tonight with those twisted versions of what our child could become, it made me think about what could happen and what that could mean to a baby. I never minded risking my life in the past. It's something I do willingly, and something you knew I did when you married me. But a baby, we can't exactly ask him or her if it's okay, can we? If he'd mind growing up without a father? I can risk my life, but can I risk the life of my child's father? Is that fair to him? Tamara asks her husband, "Well, you could quit?" Zachary to this says, How can I read in the paper about murder, about rape, and more, and know I could have stopped it? How can I live with myself?" Tamara argues, "But there's firemen and cops and soldiers, they risk their lives and they have families too." Zachary replies, I know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's how I grew up, but I know what I could be putting that baby through, and I don't know if I can do that." Tamara is saddened. Is Zachary saying he doesn't want to have a baby? Zachary replies, I didn't say that. It's just, I need to think is all." Zachary, now in the Jack-in-the-Box outfit, goes down to the local prison where his 2 future alternate reality sons preside. Jack-in-the-Box looks at them and he doesn't know what to think. Are they truly his sons, or something that his children could become in some warped future? Could this really happen if he died? Could the child growing inside Tamara right now become something like that? The 2 clowns in the cell say to Jack-in-the-Box, "You must be judged, father. Judged for failing your son, for failing your whole world. You are a heretic and a false prophet, blind to your own teachings. You will be cleansed." "We have agreed, father. We will not tell the pathetic police of this era anything about you. We will keep your secrets until the day we punish you. We shall be free, and we shall be the instrument of your destruction. Farewell, father. We'll be back." Moments later, the 2 clowns disappear, assumingly heading back to the time they came from. Jack-in-the-Box, he starts leaving the precinct, talking to the cops about those 2 other clowns. And as they're heading out, one of Jack's acquaintances, one of the trouble boys, Roscoe James, is being arrested for something and is being marched through the precinct. Jack-in-the-Box tells one of the cops, "I know that boy. He's Roscoe James, one of the trouble boys. He's a good kid though, a little rambunctious maybe, and a smart mouth, but he's no criminal. What's he being brought in for?" The cop then explains that he's being brought in for assault and robbery. Someone had beaten a woman, taken her purse and a watch, and the description she gave fit Roscoe. Jack, after hearing more of the explanation, says, "It couldn't have been him. The timing's wrong. You see, the assault happened around 10 o'clock, but that's when I finished fighting those 2 other clowns up there. And Roscoe, he was there." The cops, they listen to Jack-in-the-Box and they let Roscoe go. Later on, outside of the police precinct, Jack-in-the-Box and Roscoe talk. Roscoe, he seems a little peeved at Jack, though. He questions, "I suppose you want me to thank you, Jax? That's what you waiting around for?" Jack replies, "No, I just wanted to make sure you were okay." Roscoe's frustrated. There's all these troubles in his neighborhood, and the crime boss known as the Deacon is causing issues. The Deacon's been going around recruiting boys for his squad, and Roscoe, he wants to be doing more to help. Roscoe, he's athletic, he works out, and he tries to help others around the neighborhood, but he feels like he should be doing more himself. And he also feels like Jack-in-the-Box isn't doing as much as he should. Jack-in-the-Box says he'll look into it, but Roscoe doesn't seem as pleased with that answer. As Jack-in-the-Box is traveling home, on one of the rooftops, someone calls out to him saying, "Jack-in-the-Box, sir." The mystery man says, I've been following you around all night, trying to work up the courage to talk to you. Jack asks, and you are? The guy answers, I'm Jerome Johnson, like those other two, gentlemen. I'm your son, from the future, or future. Jack asks, you're with them? Jerome answers, no sir, that's not really possible. Temporarily speaking. See, we're all the same person, sort of, from your vantage point. We're from what you'd call potential futures. Right now we're all possibilities. As time moves on from you, though, you'll make choices, take actions, and that'll narrow down the possibilities to one actuality at any given time. Jack asks, and you all just happen to come the same night? Jerome replies, well, there's not much of a window between when we became potential and when Jack cuts in, when I die. Jerome responds, I wouldn't have put it that way. Jack to this says, so Jerome, what brings you here? Got something to blame me for? You want to kill me? Your head pop off or something? Jerome replies, no sir, I'm no vigilante. I'm a college professor, doing some research in chronal flow. I expect I'll get in trouble for appropriating this much power, but I just wanted to meet you, that's all. To see your face. Look, I'm being recalled back now. I wouldn't worry about those other two coming back. Time travel's not really as simple as it seems, and they're unlikely ever to be able to do it twice. So you see, sir, there's really nothing to worry about. Jerome, he then disappears back into the time stream. Jack in the Box reflects. Jerome, his face, his sad eyes, his lost eyes. Even when his son doesn't turn out to be a monster, he's still so hurt by the loss of his father that he's got to travel through time just to see him once. And Jack in the Box, he knows what that feels like, especially with the passing of his own father. The next several weeks go by, and they go kind of badly. Tamara doesn't want to interfere with Zachary's choices as Jack in the Box. Zach, he wants to reassure Tamara, but he doesn't know what to say. And the clock keeps ticking. The baby inside Tamara's belly continues to grow. Finally, after several weeks, Zach gets an idea. Zachary decides to pass the baton of Jack in the Box to the very eager Roscoe James. So Roscoe James becomes the third Jack in the Box. But Zachary will remotely observe Roscoe and coach him from afar. Teach him how to be the best Jack in the Box he can be. We see remotely Zachary is watching Roscoe battle various villains and attempt to apprehend the brass monkey who eluded Zachary earlier. Zachary, in his home, remotely watching, tells Roscoe, behind you, keep moving. Don't let them get a beat on you. Use your weapons, remember. Use the advantage they give you. There's only 2 left. When Tamara discovers what Zachary has done, Zach explains, I realized I was looking at the project backwards. I wasn't willing to risk losing our baby, his father, but Jack in the Box was needed too. So well, we can't get the baby a new father, but what about the other side of the equation? What about a new Jack in the Box? Zach continues watching as Roscoe battles the brass monkey. The brass monkey was originally a janitor at a lab doing research into mental transference, and he used their machines to project his mind into a brass monkey statue. And then he planned to use it for burglaries. But while he was still in the statue, his real body got killed. So now he's stuck in the brass monkey. And he's made of solid brass and is inhumanly strong. Tamara, watching with Zachary, asks, are you sure it's okay to recruit him? What about the risk? Zachary answers, it's a risk, yeah, but at least he can accept it consciously. And it's not like the streets or a walk in the park. Believe me, he knew what he was agreeing to. He needs a way out, and this way I can give him some money for school, for college, and he'll take it. He wouldn't have taken charity. Roscoe and the brass monkey tussle for a while. Eventually, Roscoe grabs the brass monkey by his head and throws him out the window, and the brass monkey lands inside a dumpster. Roscoe then sprays confetti all over the top of the dumpster, sealing the brass monkey inside. With the brass monkey subdued, Roscoe then waits for the police to collect him. Zachary through the radio tells Roscoe, "You did good. Real good." Roscoe questions, "I guess I did, didn't I? So, when do we go after the deacon?" Zachary answers, "Not right away, Roscoe, but we'll do it. In time." Eventually, Zachary cuts off radio communication with Roscoe, and he continues talking with his wife some more. Tamara tells Zach, "You realize you just took on an adoptive son, even before the real one's here." Zachary answers, "If that's what it takes, honey." And Roscoe's a good kid. He deserves a chance. Tamara comments, "It's gonna be a lot of work. You sure it's the right thing?" Zach answers, "No, I'm not. For all I know, this could be the exact step that creates one of those futures or something worse. But it's the best I can think of. And in the end, isn't that how it works for any parent?" Tamara replies, "Have I told you recently how much I love you?" Zachary answers, "Seems to me I've heard it a time or two, yeah, but I'm not tired of hearing it. Come here." Astro City Issue 13, In the Spotlight. A cartoon character named Loony Leo is drinking in the bar that he owns. Leo's drinking and smoking, and he doesn't look very happy. He gets approached by an advertising executive named Joss Ryerson. Joss wants to speak to Leo about a job opportunity. Some local Toyota dealerships want to hire Leo to shoot some advertisements for them. This upsets Leo. It seems beneath him. Joss replies, "Look, I know the money's not great, but we can maybe get the client to pony up some more." Leo to this responds, "Prah, it's the entertainment industry. Television, movies, advertising, it's all the same. And you want me to just jump back in as if nothing happened? Just wipe my whole life away, is that it?" Joss responds, "Well, I don't know." Leo continues, "I see. You're young. You don't know any of it. That's probably why they sent you. Well, grab a cup of coffee from the urn over there, and I'll tell you a story." Loony Leo then tells this ad exec his life story. The year was 1946. At the cinema, a movie was playing called The Monster from the Dark Continent. A villain known as Professor Borzio used a weapon of his called a belief ray, and he fired it at the movie screen, and the monsters on the screen stepped right into the crowd. When the audience watched the movie, they believed that the monsters they were watching were real, and Borzio used that belief to bring them to life. The hero, known as the Gentleman, stepped in to try and subdue these monsters and take down Professor Borzio. Borzio, he miscalculated the strength of the ray, or he used it too soon, or something, because he accidentally also brought the cartoon character Loony Leo that was on a poster there to life. Loony Leo stepped right out of the poster and was walking in the real world, right in the movie theater lobby. Just as Leo was getting his bearings, the Gentleman, the monster, and the professor, their fighting spilled out right into the lobby in front of Leo. Leo, seeing the professor holding this belief ray, asked, "Should you really be playing with this?" The Gentleman, as he was tussling with the gorilla monster, yelled out, "Quick, smash the ray! Without it, the gorilla can't exist! Quickly, smash it!" So Leo did. He grabbed it from the professor and smashed the ray, and sure enough, the monster began to fade away. But with the ray destroyed, Leo began to fade away as well. However, the Gentleman stepped in and rescued him. He realized what must have happened. So the Gentleman, he then spoke out to the civilians in the crowd, and he said, People, listen to me. This man, well, this lion, he just saved you all, and he wouldn't have been here to do it. Wouldn't have been here at all if Professor Borzio's belief ray hadn't brought him to life, using your belief in him. And now he's dying. He sacrificed the thing that brought him to life to save you. But you can save him in turn if you'll only believe. Believe in him. Believe he's real. It's the only thing that'll save him. The Gentleman, he didn't think. He just acted. And he stirred the crowd into believing in Leo. And all of a sudden, Leo, he stopped fading away, and he became solid, and he now existed in the real world. And that's when his troubles began. First, there was the court case. He'd stuck around, he'd had a few adventures with the gentleman, he'd gotten the news a little, but then he heard from the studio's lawyers that created him, and they claimed that they made him up so he was their property. The gentleman, he didn't like the studio execs taking advantage, so he managed to get Leo a pretty good lawyer, and the lawyer was able to fight the studio in court. This was the 1940s though, and artificial beings weren't around as much, not like now. But Leo, he had a reputation as a pocket hero, and the studios didn't want the bad publicity. They didn't want to be seen like bad guys, enslaving a public celebrity who saved lives. So they settled out of court, and they offered Leo a deal. The studio would get the rights to all the existing cartoons in perpetuity, but they would have no claim on Leo, and they even offered him a contract for features. Dazed by the amount of money Leo would get by starring in a couple movies, he took the offer. Leo starred in a whole bunch of movies, and they made lots of money there in the 40s. And stars, they were lining up to do cameos in his movies. Leo was the toast of Hollywood, and he was invited to all the right parties, and he was popular with women, and he was in the columns all the time. Leo, reflecting back, thinks, "It was all one big mad whirl of flashbulbs and champagne. I had it great and I knew it. I had everything I could ever want." But the films were a gimmick, and after a while all gimmicks get old. By 1954, no one was coming to see him in the movies anymore. And it's not like Leo could adapt to other roles. It's not like he could become the new Bogart. Leo's contract came up with the studio and they didn't renew. Leo, he worried that he'd fade away now that the audiences forgot about him, that he'd vanish, but he didn't. He'd been around long enough, he guessed, enough that people believed in him to still make him real. He took a less lucrative job in Hollywood, hosting a kids' TV show. The kids seemed to like it, and it helped him keep a roof over his head. But as he got older, Leo started to get a little sad. A lot of his so-called friends in Hollywood weren't really his friends, and they wouldn't call him back. For the first time in a long time, Leo realized how little he had. He wasn't even alive until 1946, but he was born with the memories of the cartoons that he'd been in, of the adventures and the romances he had with Lioness Lola, or with all of his rascally nephews. But they were all memories, and fictional ones at that. Leo, he soon started to get into trouble, drinking too much with loose women in bars, generally just mixing it up. But the cops, they swept most of it under the rug. They did that for celebrities back in those days, even the has-beens. But eventually, Leo fell into a scandal that could not be swept under the rug. There was a girl named Corliss McBride, and she died. Leo didn't kill her, not directly anyway. She was a hooker, and she OD'd in his hotel suite. She was the closest thing that Leo had to a friend, and even she wouldn't have hung around if not for the money he gave her and the dope that she bought with it. Well, when she died, it turns out she was only 14 years old, and that made quite the scandal in the papers. Leo comments now, "She was a good kid. I'd like to think if I'd have known, I could have done something to help her maybe. But that's a crock. Maybe I didn't kill her, but I sure helped put that needle in her arm. And would it really have made it better if she was an 18-year-old junkie corpse?" There was a trial, but there wasn't enough to convict Leo of anything. But still, the scandal loomed over him. His career was as dead as she was. Nobody wanted an accused child killer hosting a kiddie show, and who could blame them? So after that, Leo, he went into seclusion. He went away from everything. So long, Hollywood. Leo, he then walked across America, and he slept wherever he wanted. There was actually an advantage to being a cartoon character. Maybe you get hungry, but you don't actually really need to eat. Not really. You can sleep in the rain, freeze in the cold. You can walk this country from one end to another, and you won't die. Not even if you do it for 6 years. Leo, he grew so depressed, he began to pray for death, for a release from the gnawing emptiness and the cold and the pain. But it didn't come. One night he was huddled on a cliff in the Rockies, wondering if wild animals could tear him apart or something, wondering if even that would end it. But that is when an alien named Zardo found him. Back in 1964, the hero group known as Honor Guard fought a villain called the Myth Master. Myth Master was an armored fella. He fought the Silver Agent, the Mermaid, El Hombre, Cleopatra, Mirage, and the Hummingbird, and the Enforcer. He conjured figures of fiction and folklore to battle them. He even beat Honor Guard. They couldn't overcome all of these conjured up characters. But when it finally came time for Myth Master to kill the members of Honor Guard, he couldn't do it. And he let Honor Guard go. It turns out that Myth Master was Looney Leo himself, given powers by the alien Zardo. When Looney Leo realized he couldn't go through with it, he told Honor Guard where to find Zardo and take him down. The reason Leo had gone along with Zardo's plan to become this Myth Master was because Zardo lied. He told Leo that he soaked up psychic energy just by existing, and he could drain it away and Leo could finally die if he just went along with his plan to take Honor Guard down. Well, there was a trial, and Leo managed to get off again. Honor Guard was actually kind of sympathetic to him, and Leo's old pals at the studio also stepped in. They were making good money with their cartoons on TV, reruns, licensing, the works. Everything but the Looney Leo shorts, that is, and they wanted to begin showing those too. They wanted to bring them out as soon as people had forgotten about that whole dead hooker situation scandal, and they didn't want another scandal dredging it up all over again. So that, in combination with Honor Guard willing to give Leo a second chance, and some money crossing the right palms in the justice system, Leo's courtroom troubles all went away. Afterwards, the studio even gave Leo some money. They didn't want him turning up in the papers after all. They didn't want one of their stars to surface as a homeless bum. So they gave him some money to buy a house on the outskirts of Astro City and live there. Leo, he stayed there and he didn't go out much. So then by 1976, they finally started showing Leo's cartoons on TV again. The past, it seemed, was finally past. Leo, he would even watch them and tell himself that that part of his life was over and that he was better off for it. A few years later, he was approached by some businessmen, entrepreneurs. They tracked Leo down and found out where he lived. They wanted to open a restaurant, a 40s nostalgia place, and they wanted to build it around Leo, to make him a living promotional gimmick. They laid it all out for him how it would work. There was only one hitch, they explained. They needed Leo to buy in as a partner, to be a part owner of the place. It's part of the concept. Looney Leo's restaurant. What better hook is there for the restaurant than Looney Leo working in the restaurant himself? Leo decided, sure, why not? So he invested in the restaurant. Anyway, it's been okay. He lives upstairs from the restaurant now. He watches the food costs, makes sure the bartenders pour a decent drink, and he comes out every night and plays his part as host, introducing the piano player. He mingles with the customers, asking if their food's good. He signs autographs. The kids love it, and the adults, they seem to like the sheer weirdness of it, and they routinely come back. And at the end of the night, and everyone's gone, Leo goes back upstairs and he watches old movies, and he waits to do it all again tomorrow. It works. It fills the day. Back in the current day now, Leo talks to that ad exec, and he says, "And now here you are. You want me back on TV. You want me doing commercials for, what was it, a garage?" The ad exec says, "A car dealership." Leo replies, "And you can still sit there and ask me that after all I've told you?" The ad exec responds, "Well, it's up to you, of course. The kids who grew up on your cartoons in the 80s are old enough to buy cars now, and our research shows that The nostalgia appeal of a childhood figure, well, it might bring them in. But if you're not comfortable with it, I've got a couple of baseball players I can talk to. The ad exec begins shuffling his papers, preparing to leave. Leo, he stops the ad exec and holds his arm and says, "Wait! What the hell? It's show business, right? Show me the papers. Where do I sign?" And with that, we end this volume of Astro City. Alright, so that was Astro City Volume 3. Let me go through the various story arcs in this one and give my thoughts on them. So first issue, Welcome to Astro City, was a brilliantly written issue. I think it deserved the Eisner win there. I just thought it was a great exploration of the concept of kind of like, why would people decide to live in Gotham City, for instance? Mind you, Astro City is not as messed up as Gotham City by any means, but still, there's a large concentration of heroes and villains, and what kind of maniac would want to live in a city like that? Well, we see that sort of explored here, and initially the guy that moved to Astro City, he is feeling all that. He's like, why did I move my family here? This place is crazy, but in the end, he kind of feels a sense of camaraderie and of being neighborly with everyone there, and he likes the sense of community of them coming together after this superhero battle to fix each other's places up, and it really inspires him, and then he decides, you know what? I do want to live in Astro City, and I do like it here, and I think it's just such a hopeful, great message, and really fantastic issue, and worthy of the win, so yeah, great stuff. Then we had the 2-issue arc on the first family, and I think it was really fun learning the dynamics of the first family and how they're different than the Fantastic Four. So like Astra's dad is this Rex Majestro's dinosaur monster looking guy. So that's a big twist there. And yeah, just different dynamics going on. And I think it was a really good concept to explore. What's it like being a kid in a superhero family and not getting to live life like a regular kid, not going to school and not having friends, not watching TV, and all that stuff that Astra is missing out on is just great to see explored. And then in the end, we kind of get a happy ending there, and Astra is going to get to go to school and make some friends that way. So yeah, really good stuff. We had the Show 'em All issue next, where we learned about the Junkman. I thought that was great as well. And how I like how this guy is like an older villain, and he's really smart, and he uses his smarts to pull off these robberies. And then, he pulls a big score, he's rich, he can just retire, he got away with it, but it's nagging at him that everyone is saying that the heroes always get their guy. And it bothers him, so he comes out of retirement and he wants to prove the heroes wrong. He ends up getting arrested, but maybe he purposely got arrested, and it ends with him in court just kind of reveling in the fact that the other people in court there have to talk about how brilliant his robbery was, and then once kind of the story is out there, he plans on escaping. So yeah, a really neat tale. We had the 2-issue Jack in the Box story next. That one's actually my least favorite in this volume. I still like Jack in the Box and learning about him and his dynamics with his wife, and seeing him pass the torch to a new Jack in the Box was cool, but I think that the whole thing where his future alternate version sons from the future come back to the past was a little convoluted to me, and reminds me kind of like of Spider-Man Clone Wars, and I don't like that whole dynamic of it. So there are things I didn't like about that storyline, but still not bad. Okay, the last issue here, the Looney Leo one, was really fun. I just love the concept of this cartoon character coming to life. He's an actor in Hollywood, and then he has some messed up stuff go down with this little girl hooker that dies, and it's so dark and twisted, and he's so depressed, and he wants to die, but he can't die because he's a cartoon character. Love the darkness that they go into there, but then we kind of have the hopeful ending, and the kind of fun ending too, where he sort of gets a second chance. He sees his cartoons on TV, he gets this deal with the restaurant, and we add the kind of funny note where he's going to now promote these Toyota dealerships. So fantastic storyline, so fun, absolutely love that one. So yeah, on the whole, still a really solid volume. I'm really impressed with Kurt Busiek's writing on Astro City here after 3 volumes. He's just killing it. Every volume's been so good. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back in the future with more comics.